Picture this. You wake up one morning and feel a strange sense of unease. It's as though a curtain has been pulled back and you suddenly realize that the life you've been living may not truly be yours. The choices you've made, the beliefs you defend, even the ambitions that keep you striving forward. What if none of them were born from your deepest self? What if they were quietly planted there by your upbringing, by society's expectations, by the invisible hands of culture and fear? Stop for a moment and really ask yourself how much of your identity is authentic and how much is a mask you've built to survive. How many times have you acted not from your true self, but from the role you thought you should play? The obedient child, the diligent worker, the agreeable friend? Today, we're embarking on an exploration of one of Carl Jung's most profound ideas. That real life, the kind that feels alive, purposeful, and free, doesn't begin until you discover yourself. But what does it mean to find yourself? Is it just about knowing your preferences, your strengths, and your goals? Or is it something far more transformative, a process that asks you to face your hidden depths, your contradictions, your fears, and ultimately to integrate them into a fuller, more authentic being? Stay with me, because as we unfold Jung's insights, you'll see why so many people never complete this journey, and you'll also glimpse how you might begin. From the very beginning of life, we are shaped. As children, we don't enter the world as blank slates. We arrive with temperament, instincts, and potential. But almost immediately, we are molded. We are given names and identities. We're taught what's acceptable and what's not, what earns approval and what provokes punishment. Think back to your own childhood. Maybe you were imaginative, but someone told you to stop daydreaming. Maybe you were sensitive, but you heard, don't be so dramatic. Or perhaps you were bold and outspoken, but were told to be polite and stay quiet. Little by little, you learn to hide parts of yourself in order to fit in. Jung called the social mask we develop the persona. The persona is the version of ourselves we present to the world, the face that pleases our parents, earns respect at school, and later secures us a job or wins us friends. It's not entirely false. It's a necessary adaptation. But the problem begins when we start believing that the mask is our identity. We forget there is something behind it. Opposite the persona lies what Jung called the shadow. If the persona is what we show, the shadow is what we conceal. It contains all the traits we suppress, our forbidden desires, our rejected emotions, our hidden vulnerabilities. But, and this is critical, the shadow doesn't vanish simply because we ignore it. Instead, it lingers in the unconscious, shaping us from behind the scenes. This is why Jung insisted the shadow is never harmless. It leaks out in our behaviors, our relationships, our emotions. Have you ever met someone and instantly disliked them, though you couldn't explain why? Or felt an exaggerated irritation at a small behavior in others? That's often projection, the shadow mirrored back at you. The qualities we despise in others are frequently ones we haven't acknowledged in ourselves. But here's the paradox. The shadow is not an enemy to be destroyed. It contains not only our darkness, but also our unrealized strengths. Within it lies creativity, vitality, and power. To ignore it is to remain divided. To face it is to begin becoming whole. This leads us to one of Carl Jung's greatest contributions, the process of individuation. Most people, Jung argued, spend their lives conforming. They adjust to cultural norms, adopt socially approved goals, and rarely question whether their path aligns with who they truly are. On the surface, this looks like success, the good job, the stable family, the polite persona. But inside, a quiet restlessness grows, the sense that something essential has been buried. Individuation is Jung's term for the process of uncovering and integrating all aspects of the psyche, both conscious and unconscious, in order to become one's authentic self. It is not about perfection, nor about constructing a new identity. It's about integration, bringing together the fragmented parts of the self into a harmonious whole. But this process is uncomfortable because it requires confronting the shadow, and most people would rather avoid that. Think about how often we drown ourselves in distractions. We scroll endlessly on social media, we fill our calendars with busyness, we binge entertainment, not just because we enjoy it, but because silence threatens to reveal something we don't want to face. Yet the unconscious cannot be silenced. It shows up anyway in anxiety, in recurring conflicts, in patterns of self sabotage. That's Jung's warning. Your shadow will run your life until you make it conscious. Take the example of, say, rejection. Many people live paralyzed by the fear of being judged. They hold back their true thoughts, avoid confrontation, and chase approval. But if we trace this fear, it usually points back to an early wound, a childhood experience of being dismissed or unseen. Until that memory and its emotions are acknowledged, the fear dictates life. But the moment we confront it, something shifts. The grip loosens. Imagine what it would be like to live without that fear, to speak your truth boldly, to act without apology. That's individuation in action. So, how do we engage in this process? Jung believed one of the most powerful gateways to the unconscious is through symbols. Dreams, for instance, are not meaningless static. They are messages from the deeper self communicating through images and stories. In dreams, forgotten aspects of ourselves appear disguised as characters, landscapes, or events. When interpreted thoughtfully, they reveal what the conscious mind has ignored. Creative expression is another portal. Painting, writing, music, or even storytelling allow unconscious material to rise to the surface. This is why art often feels more truthful than direct explanation. It bypasses the censor of the persona. But perhaps Jung's most famous idea is the existence of archetypes. Archetypes are universal psychological patterns that live in the collective unconscious, a layer of the psyche that is shared across all humanity. You've seen them countless times. The hero who embarks on a great journey, the mentor who guides, the trickster who disrupts, the innocent who longs for purity. These figures aren't just stories, they are reflections of forces within us. Consider the hero within each of us as we strive to grow, to overcome obstacles, to move toward purpose. But the hero also faces the shadow. In myths, the shadow is the monster or villain. In our lives, it's our doubts, our fears, and our resistance. The hero's story is a symbol of the internal struggle we each face. But the shadow isn't the only archetype to confront. Jung also identified the anima and animus, the inner feminine within men and the inner masculine within women. These aren't about physical gender, but about psychic balance. The anima represents intuition, empathy, and creativity. The animus embodies reason, structure, and discipline. Deny either side, and imbalance follows. Integrate both, and wholeness emerges. Jung went even deeper than archetypes. He asked, what if the very idea of a fixed self is an illusion? Most people believe they are a stable identity defined by name, profession, memories, and personality. But Jung saw the self as far more expansive. The ego, the smallest I, that clings to labels, is only a fragment of a much larger totality. Think of yourself as an island. On the surface, you see the visible land, your daily personality, your conscious choices. But beneath the waterline lies a vast mountain connected to the sea floor, the unconscious layers, the collective history of humanity, the wisdom of ancestors. The ego thinks it is the whole island, but in truth, it is only the tip. This realization is both terrifying and liberating. Terrifying because it challenges the illusion of control. Liberating because it reveals that you are far greater than the small identity you cling to. The greatest obstacle to individuation is the ego's resistance. The ego wants to maintain its boundaries. It says, this is me and this is not me. But Jung's insight is that wholeness lies beyond those boundaries. You are not a static identity. You are a process, a becoming, a field of consciousness that evolves across time. So what can you do practically to begin this journey? Jung suggested several steps. Number 1, embrace the unknown. Growth happens in uncertainty. Instead of fearing the unknown, lean into it. Transformation comes when you face what feels unfamiliar. Release rigid labels. You are more than your job, your culture, your history. These are fragments, not the whole. Don't cling to them as your entire identity. Listen to your unconscious. Your dreams, instincts, synchronicities, they are not accidents. Pay attention. They are guidance from the deeper self. Engage creative expression. Art, writing, journaling, and music are always ways to invite the unconscious to speak. Surrender to the process. Finding yourself is not a one-time event. It is an ongoing journey of integration layer by layer. And here's the beautiful truth. You were never really lost. The authentic self has been within you all along, waiting to be acknowledged. So here's the choice. Will you continue to live bound by the mask, defined by old fears and illusions? Or will you step into the unknown, confront your shadow, embrace your archetypes, and expand into the wholeness of who you truly are? Carl Jung's words remain as powerful today as when he first spoke them. Life does not truly begin until you find yourself. And now you have glimpsed the path forward.